So let me show you the kind of the last step in all of this. They go through their whole assessment. They go through their scans and everything. Um, and speaking of scans, that's a huge part, is going through the vulnerabilities and compliance of your system. Not only patching, do you have a patching process? Do you have a patching mechanism? Is it automated? But are you compliant? Are your systems compliant? Do you have security controls in place? Do you have things like a baseline? These are all things that are going to go into the SAP before you even get there. They're going to tell you, here's what we're going to look at. And then all of those results go into something called a SAR, or Security Assessment Report. And this is kind of one of the last steps that you're going to do. And let me show you what that looks like. Now, that has many different iterations, many different ways that it looks. And I see you guys' questions here. I'll get to it in a second. But let me show you a SAR. So a SAR, here's an outline of a SAR. And I'll show you a couple different, just to kind of give you an overview of what it looks like and what kind of things to expect in it. It's going to have usually an overview of everything, that like an executive support, executive summary that breaks down everything, so that your heads of agency, your CIOs, your CISOs can quickly take a look at it and say, okay, where are the main areas? What's this system all about? What things do I need to look at? Because they don't have time to look at all the stuff in the weeds, right? So they just need a very quick summary. So that first part will normally be an overview of everything that's going on. It'll talk about how they approached the whole assessment, and then it'll go into great detail about their findings, and then a conclusion. And so all of these other examples here have a bit of the same thing, from the templates that I have here, and another type of assessment that you might see, or a name for it is a risk assessment report, or an ARA. But yeah, so same thing. It's like the description of what happened, an overview, what was the scope. So it looks a little bit, in this case, it looks a little bit like a SAP. And then it'll go into great detail about all of the actual findings that happen there. Every organization that I've gone to has something a little bit different, but they all answer the same questions. And in that way, they're very similar. Let me just see if I can find another good example of some templates or some sample SARs. So here's some actual real world SARs that I got, that you guys can take a quick look at to get an idea of what these things look like. So here's a real world SAR. You can get this off the internet, right? This is not me taking proprietary information or anything like this. I got this off the internet. But yeah, here's what it looks like. It's a very professional looking document. Who prepared it, who submitted it, might be signed. It has a summary of the scope of what they looked at, and then it'll break down very quickly for your CIOs and CISOs what they looked at from a bird's eye view. And usually what the real cool SARs, what they'll do is right in the beginning, they'll tell you what you need to look at. Like in a few different paragraphs, it'll say, look, here are the top things you need to take a look at. And then all the other stuff is in great detail about and it might even have just attachments to everything else. That has a breakdown of what are the different risk severities and all that kind of stuff. And this is just one example. They all look very different. So for me to sit here and say, oh, all of them look like this, is just not realistic, because that's not the case, right? So that's it. All of this stuff that I'm talking about here will go into a course that I've been building and adding to over the past few years. And let's just break this out into questions. This is going to be a short one, because I got more videos to do for the course, for courses that I'm building, including the GRC roadmap and NIST CSF. I'm on TikTok right now, taking a look at what you guys have here. And let me see. King says organizational policy with it with whom it applies. Organizational policies with whom it applies. Organization policies and procedures are mostly going to be inherited if they're part of a very, I think he means very large organization. Yeah. So that's true. So if you have a really big organization, a lot of times what happens is, oh my God, if you have a really large organization, you'll have a different departments, and then the lower department A, B, and C, will have a upper level department, and then you'll inherit those from another organization. So normally you don't have to rewrite the policies. That's the truth. You might be a part of developing them, and actually that's a really great exercise for you if you happen to be a GRC person.